And we are live. It is your friendly neighborhood film watchers. It is Frankly Football. I am your humble host, Brandon, and I got my man, Honey Grant, set it off Chris with me. And you may notice we do have some well-esteemed guests with us. One who is always with us, our great friend, DMV Fanatic. How you doing, DMV?
Hey, bro. I'm a lot better than I was yesterday and then the day before that, but I'm doing all right, man.
Good,
Wonderful.
good, good, good.
Great to hear. Great to hear. And a face that y'all may not have seen with us before, but one that we're very happy to have. John Herndon, a writer for Fanside, a site that we get information from very often. John, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I appreciate you guys having me on. This should be fun.
Wonderful.
No doubt,
Wonderful.
no doubt, man, no doubt. So go get it, B. You know, y'all went outside in the wet and the cold and the rain. I told y'all not to go. Y'all wanted to do your own thing. I kind of forecasted that foolishness, but y'all went out there. So I'm gonna let y'all get it off your chest, man. Go and get it off your chest, B. How you feeling?
The rain kind of set the tone for the day, for how the day went. You know,
Mm.
you go out there, you get wet, you cold, you just want to get away from things. You know, the Cowboys went out there. You know, the moment was too big for them. You know, not really an athlete. Pissed down their leg, you know?
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Pissing down my leg. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. I got you. Okay.
Absolutely, man. So to go out there and see the way that Dak Prescott, Kellen Moore, and everyone else who has a name that we will name later went out there and performed, it was miserable. Just like
Right.
the look in the day Sunday, it was miserable to watch as a fan,
Okay.
as a film watcher, and all of the above. Every other adjective that you would use.
Okay.
Um, Chris, I'll start with you. Tell me some of the things that you saw on Sunday that you liked, that you disliked, all of the above.
What I liked is when all the zeros was on the clock. Uh, what I disliked was this was Rain Dakota Prescott's worst game I've ever seen him play. And it kind of reminded me of the game in 2018 when they went up there, played the football Wizards, and I think was it Michael Gallup's rookie year. I think it was Michael Gallup's rookie year. They went up there and he was under duress all game, and that's when we were playing a subpar offensive line, Joe Looney, and you turned around and got out there and just got manhandled by what Washington does well. Their front four wasn't in full force, but Deron Payne, John Ridgeway, who should be on this football team, Josh Sweat, Montez Sweat, and the kid from Ohio State a couple years back. And they just wreaked havoc all game, man. And they put pressure on him. And the unimaginative, basic, vanilla passing game concepts that Kellen Moore displayed just reared his ugly head again. Now, I don't know, Vosh and everybody been kind of been playing with this. We saving plays for the playoffs, but I just could not imagine them to go up there and play that way, be that listless, to be that inept, and they put that out for us to see, and which helps the talking heads have something to talk about for the next 6-7 days. That's what it does. But for us, it gives us time to reflect and try to figure out why do we see something that they don't see, and that's their job. That's what I got. What you got, DMV?
Nothing much, man. Look, y'all about to laugh, but in our little chat, I'm just sending y'all all these Kellen plays, some of his favorite plays. It's only about 4, but right now I'm just sending plays.
What? Oh, he don't take. What? He don't take football? He don't take football?
No, he just had to go to his Madden playbook. I think that the Dallas playbook in Madden is something that he likes to use, and we get a whole bunch of curl flats, and we go empty, bro. I've never in my life seen somebody go empty so much and do stops.
Okay.
My guy Jay Tuck did a wonderful video on all of Dak's interceptions. Some of it has to do with concept, some of it has to do with the decision making. But yeah, all around, that probably was the worst game that I've seen us play. Like even in week one, like the defense, they showed some sparks. Special teams weren't as bad. The offense was just putrid. You can normally find bright spots. I really had a hard time talking to Joe Rod yesterday and finding like winners and losers segment. I had a hard time finding winners. Everybody lost, especially on the offensive side of the ball. It was god awful.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if they went into it just thinking they were going to show up and just beat this team, but that's what it looked like. And what I got from that was, you're not good enough to do that. Your talent is not good enough to do that. You're not good enough to show up and beat second and third stringers.
Yeah.
Your first string is not talented enough on the offensive side of the ball to beat second and third stringers.
That's explosive. Okay. I can't argue with you on that. What you got, Big J?
Well, there's a couple of bright spots, not that many though, because most of it was dreadful to see it across the board. But there was one bright spot that I saw, that was from the left side. If you go and look at what Peterson did against Chase Young was not a factor in the entire game.
Okay.
I did check out the plays that you did send, and there is the biggest problem that I saw Sunday, but I've seen this problem many times before, but usually sometimes the talent either overcomes it or the quarterback overcomes it, is that the concepts or the form of attack, if I had to ask anybody, what were we leaning on going into that game offensively? Now,
incentives. Getting people paid.
Well, no, I mean, from a concept standpoint, you have West Coast offense. Sometimes people do vertical attacks. Sometimes people lean on whatever personnel that you have. So let's go back. I'm going to go back early in the season. Dalton Schultz wasn't around, and we didn't have Dak Prescott. This was after week one. So the team decided they were going to lean very, very heavily on a running game, and they were going to lean on their tight end group. Now, at that time. This is not a detriment when I'm about to say this towards Dak Prescott. This is just sometimes how coaches will do things. So if they're missing a franchise quarterback, there are times people will, I want to say vanilla, but I will say they will shrink the playbook. And so therefore they will be more conservative. Here's the thing. Earlier in the year, when we had Cooper Rush during that time, and this is not Cooper versus Dak, but just the identity of the team, the Cowboys were committed to running the football, regardless whether or not they had success in it. They would also, everything that Moore did, that was from a positive standpoint, is from his play action. If you go back and look at it for the last 6 weeks, play action has decreased. We ran it 3 times in that game. Now, I know some people will say, well, they didn't run the football, they didn't have any success. I agree with that. But sometimes you have to go with what you have. One, they have a compromising offensive line. Tyler Biadasz is gone. So you have a guy who's a backup who they moved to center that a lot of people say, well, he should be center. And I tell people, well, you go back and look at college, he did start out center. They moved him. It's more to center than snapping the football.
Absolutely. Yes.
A player that I told at the time that when he was having struggles, I was like, this will be a benefit to him. Terrence Steele, he's missing. He's an elite run defender. I'll say average, probably an average pass protecting, but from a running standpoint, that is a strong strength of his. So now the great Terrence. Great Terrence Steele, we call him around here, John.
Right. You know, we don't cut no corners. We don't cut no corners, John.
Player, but as far as for what he does. So now you have Tyron Smith playing the right side. Not the Tyron Smith that we know of the past. So physically, when you look at things, he's having problems. Then when you go to Kellen Moore, this reminds me the philosophy standpoint. if you guys recall, remember the Atlanta game? I forgot the player's name, but I think he had 6 sacks against us. It was against Chase Young. Dak Prescott.
Adrian Claiborne. I'll never
Adrian
I'll
Claiborne.
never forget that name.
If you see the lineup and how Jason Garrett attacked, he went out there and he still attacked the same way as if he had Tyron Smith on the left side.
Right.
And so when you look at the Washington game, there is no adjustments of saying, okay, you know what, our wide receiver core may not be as strong, but our tight ends have shown flexibility with the ability to block, also the ability to pass. So why don't we give Tyron help on the right side with a tight end? But if you see, everything is still the same way, as if they're running out with the same core. You can't do that. You have to have some type of adjustment.
So John, if you take that and go from what we haven't seen, like, I don't care if it's they're showing your hand and what you're going to show in the playoffs. We have not seen the 3 tight end set since Chicago.
Right.
Okay. Right. We haven't. And so knowing that you have a compromised offensive line like we do, especially on the right side with a guy who's playing a position he hadn't played in like 10 some odd years.
And also center, because Connor is playing inside.
Got
so
you.
He's compromised. If you stick Tyler Smith over there, that's a thing of compromise. That's like if all 4 of us played the offensive line and we'll just say we got another person. It's like I may know, and I'm playing with DMV. I know his tendencies. So therefore, I don't have to do things with him. We know how to pass things off. I keep telling people, you can't just switch around offensive linemen and expect the same results. It does not work like that.
That's right.
Cool.
That is a major problem. Sometimes you have to decide on what you're going to go with and then run with that. But then the offensive line isn't compromised. From a standpoint, if I'm an offensive coordinator and I'm looking at the defense, okay, here's the thing that's the problem with the defense. The pass rush has become non-existent. I know a lot of people on Twitter would say, well, it's the pressures. I tell people, go look at their pressure rate. That has dropped. Quarterback hits have dropped. At one time, they used to average 6 to 7 hits per game, 4.5 sacks per game. Last 3 weeks, I think 4 weeks, they're averaging a half a sack per game. They're barely touching the quarterback, and therefore you're having all the problems on the back end. So a lot of people with the Jacksonville game will point in and say Calvin Joseph was the problem. And I tell people all the time, go back and look at it. It wasn't just him. Everybody was getting it. When Joseph tries to jump on that play, the first touchdown he gives up, line of defense is your single high safety. That's Hooker. He's out of position. The one player that can play man, that's Diggs. But at times, he decides to be aggressive. But if you're going to give support to someone, you would think it's the rookie or the second-year player.
Or the second-year player with limited snaps.
Right.
Yeah.
So the coaching staff has shown a thing where they will not adjust to depending on what they have out there. Another thing I've never understood, why is Anthony Barr still playing? Because his ability to go sideline to sideline is heavily exposed. You saw it in the Jacksonville game. You saw it in other things. Now, I have told people I think Jarrell Cox does not play because of the safeties. But when Van Der Esch went down, Cox's biggest strength coming out of college was coverage.
Was his coverage guy? He was the coverage guy. Yep.
Clark is an outstanding. I think Clark is going to be an outstanding football player, but he's had no training camp. So he is learning on the job. And as you've seen the last couple of weeks, he thinks one defense and people are thinking another defense. So he's a little compromised.
I think he's compromised, and it's crazy to say is because LVE isn't there, and LVE has the ability to say, "Hey, listen, expected to come here," kind of walking through and talking, and so I think that hinders him from being the guy who he needs to be. And like you said, he came 5th, 6th game of the season, no training camp, no nothing, and he'll be better.
And I applaud him for what he's doing right now.
Absolutely,
no Ricky thing. But if I'm going to put him out there with somebody, I'm going to put him out there with a much more faster coverage linebacker than Anthony Barr. Barr is completely exposed. And so when you have all of those things and then you don't have a pass rush that's able to help the back end, then you have all the problems that we're having defensively.
But I will say this about Anthony Barr, and I'm not going, I'm normally a guy that normally kills him, but I just had to think about something with what you're saying. Anthony Barr is exposed because he's not used to playing where he is either. He's had to play there because of our injuries.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you can put him. Where would you put him at?
I personally think he's more of an outside backer. Personally,
okay.
I think that's where Minnesota had him. You know what I'm saying? He was more of
you can put him
on the rush.
I'm not talking about the position itself. I'm talking about his physical limitations. Go back and look at the tapes. He can't move. He can't change direction. He can only go north and south. East and west, he's completely exposed. So even if you put him outside, and I'm an offensive coordinator, put him outside. I'm going to put a tight end over there, or I'm going to leak my running back out. I'm going to
because he got
with him being at the wheel, I agree with you because the Jacksonville Jaguars game. I mean, oh my god.
And the thing is, what I'm just saying, I'm not trying to get on him as a player or any particular player. It's just that sometimes if I don't get paid to do this, and if I see this, I know the opposing team has to see it, and it's just like sometimes you have to make some adjustments and ride with youth as opposed to riding with a named veteran that may not be able to help you at this particular time. Yes, sir.
So you're saying your solution is Cox?
Cox? Did you say Cox? That would have been my solution at that time, considering once Van Der Esch went down. Once Van Der Esch went down, I'm not going to go with Luke because he's a special teams guy. He has some limitations. I have to go with someone that has a strength. Bar strength is not in coverage. It's a passing league. People will dump out and go for that. Now,
so can we guarantee that Cox is a healthy scratch?
I can't guarantee that because I'm not there. What do you mean? Earlier in the year?
Yeah. For like I would say earlier in the year. Maybe he's just getting his legs back now.
The reason why I always thought he didn't play earlier in the year is because of his body type. If you look at his body type, he's very similar to the big nickel safeties that they have. So he's no bigger than Kurtz is.
Then Kurtz, got you.
Right now, if I have to use a guy out there, I'm going to use him. At least from a coverage standpoint. Now he may not necessarily hold up if a guard gets on him.
Now, I think speed is more important, like you're saying. I think speed is the most important thing at the backer position right now. Only thing I'm asking is he healthy enough to do it? Or are they just deciding not to?
I just think that I think if you realize Giannis runs 3 safeties.
Right.
They don't run 2, they run 3. Kurtz is kind of like a nickel hybrid safety.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's linebacker too. So I've always told people. And Donovan Wilson has played good this year. And I've always told people that is the reason, in my opinion, that Cox is not playing. Because some people say he's not healthy. And I'm saying, okay, go look at the last preseason game. He looked healthy. Go look at the Washington game. He actually played. He can run.
Right.
For whatever reason, they've decided not to. It's the same thing, even though Calvin Joseph struggled a lot in that Jacksonville game. They decided to play Mullet, a guy that they got off a waiver wire 3 weeks ago who looked completely not knowing what he was doing. And so to me, sometimes I see coaches decide they're going to go with what they believe in. And sometimes you have to adjust and you have to go with the best option. It may not be better than the starter that you have, but it'll be better than the guy that may have a name. Anthony Barr one time was a fantastic player. He still
absolutely
in certain areas, but coverage is not one of them. And see, then here's when you look at that. He's a coverage problem. Donovan Wilson is a coverage problem. Kurtz is a coverage problem if you take him too far.
Take him too far.
As far as single high. So now you got the whole back end who are really have a lot of problems as far as, okay, what's the coverage? What's the spacing? How do we deal with it in this? Teams are attacking them. We didn't see this earlier because of the pass rush.
So go ahead. So everything you said is spot on, eloquent. A lot of things that we've talked about on here. So you're looking at right now, you were able to do all of that with the different deficiencies you had, even with Anthony Brown going down, even with Lewis going down. You found a jewel in Deron Bland. So do you keep Bland as your nickel guy? Because I don't think you have I think you do have another nickel guy, but nobody wants to see him on the field. I always felt Joseph could be a better nickel guy than an outside guy, and because of his athleticism. So you put him in the nickel and you put Bland on the outside and let him play outside, and you have Kurtz kind of chase tight ends and things of that nature. Is that an option? Because all the other guys they got from Rhodes, who you're just getting off the practice squad. Everybody they've had out there outside of Joseph has been getting just beat as bad as he was. So my question is, do you just? I mean, all of them.
Well, the thing
I'm about to say Deshaun Wright has improved.
Okay. Deshaun's improved. So do you run your cornerback too? Because this is the biggest question we have right now. Because I think we'll get better inside with Hankins coming back, LVE coming back. I think we'll get better and improve. I think they're going to have to make a decision with Neville and running that with the 4 guys they run inside. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But as for the coverage, do you run Nashawn, go back and forth with Nashawn, Rhodes, maybe Joseph, and kind of run a rotation of guys out there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
If you go back and look at Calvin Joseph's tape in college,
yeah,
he plays much better with the balls in front of him. I've always thought, considering what they have, what goes on right now, because let's go back. Let's look at all the DBs, even the ones that's injured. Anthony Brown, Jay Lewis. Bland is actually very good as far as man or zone. Calvin Joseph. Now go back and look at Joseph's problem. The ball is always behind him. The week before the Jacksonville game, he nearly made a pick. He's playing off. Another thing Dan Quinn seems to do, and it could be his coaches are stubborn, and I understand that, is that he sticks with the philosophy of man coverage. But when you look at it, the best man guy is Diggs.
Right. Nobody struggle. Yeah.
If you put Calvin, in my opinion, in that particular area as far as nickel, he has played nickel before.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no problem playing him outside. Just play zone. If you play zone, the ball is in front of him. He has a much better look at it. It's the same thing I've always thought about Anthony Brown. It's the same thing I've always thought about Jay Lewis. The ball is in front of him. The only corner that's on Dallas that has gotten interceptions when the ball is behind them, well, 2 now, is Bland and Diggs. They say instinct for it. And every player doesn't have that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you got to know the strength of your player. And sometimes watching the ball in front of you is the best thing to do. Last year we had this problem. I think people killed Anthony Brown. I forgot what game it was. He gave him big plays.
The Raiders game.
Probably was the Raiders
game.
I kept sitting here watching on TV. I said it's 3rd and 5. Why are you putting this dude in man? Put him in zone. He can see the ball in front of him. He always gets penalties because he does not have an instinct for it.
Instincts to turn around.
Some people are so determined, and they're going to do it. It's like Rex Ryan. Everywhere he goes, he's going to blitz. But it's like, dude, if you ain't got the corners to hold up, you can't do that. So you have to make adjustments, and they're having problems with this. No, they're having, and then what you have is you got players now pressing because now they're trying to make plays as opposed to doing their job. It's like, no, I don't need you to do all that. Let's do your job.
So let me interject here, John. Are you willing to take that big of a risk and make that big of a philosophical change this late in the season? Because now we're in a tournament. I can understand that's be willing to take those sort of chances in week 5 or 6.
What do you mean? What chances though?
Switch.
I would John here.
A zone scheme and guys who have gotten cooked, for lack of a better word.
But they've gotten cooked in man.
Yeah. Actually, man is more of a philosophically different.
Right. I'm not asking dudes to play something they can't play. I've seen Calvin Joseph play zone. when we picked him, I was like, he's a good player. He has good traits. But to me, to ostracize him after one bad game, it felt like, this is how it felt like to me. It felt like, the reason we're having a trouble is because of him. And it's like, no, the reason you're having trouble is the pass rush. The reason you're having the trouble is also you got other players out there who are not capable. Donovan Wilson, as much as I love him, you put him too deep. He's bad in coverage.
He's done. He's terrible.
Closer to the line. And so if you know this, you have to decide to change certain philosophy. Now, I do agree with you, Brandon. I'm not into making wholesale changes at this particular moment. And also, I disagree with Vosh, Law, anybody. Ain't nobody holding plays back. You don't hold plays back. I
think they're joking. I know for a fact they're joking.
They're joking. I think they're just joking, man. Because
that was a thing last year. That literally was a thing last year where people were saying Kellen was holding things back, in the Arizona game, in the San Francisco,
They
you're gonna see a whole bunch of Tony
serious
Pollard.
saying it that I was just like, I didn't for real.
Now it was an inside joke. I got it.
Yeah.
I definitely got it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for clearing that up for me because I was.
Oh no.
Now you're about to laugh at it.
I think they can make the change, and I don't think it's a wholesale. A wholesale would be to me if they do like they say Tyler Smith play right tackle. That's like wholesale. Like the dude ain't even playing right tackle.
Yeah,
right.
Well, somebody said he played it in college. I was like, okay, that was like 3 years ago. That would be a wholesale change. I just think that some of the stuff they should have did, they should have. I do agree. Once Van Der Esch went down, I'm not running with Anthony Barr. I wouldn't have ran after I first saw him. I was just like, this guy he can't cover.
But I think
that's part of the problem. We don't have the depth at linebacker. We never did.
Okay,
that's what we was clamoring for in the draft.
But hold on. This is where I'm gonna disagree. All right. This is where I would say I slightly disagree for this year. Not last year. I agree with you last year, but this year. They have decided for whatever reason. So we drafted Sam Williams, correct? He's a defensive end.
Yep.
Yeah.
And last year, Michael Parsons would play edge sometimes, but he'll play linebacker and they'll move him around. Now they have strictly decided to make him an outside edge rusher.
Yeah.
So that weakens your linebacker core. But you have a young pass rusher in Williams, so you can put in spot here. What has Michael talked about? How much he's gotten beaten up. He's not a really big linebacker. He's not really big, and I don't think he's 250. I mean, I met him. He looked like he was about 240 at best at the time that I met him. He's probably put on weight since then. So, and also when you put him at one side, if you're just rushing him on that end from an offensive standpoint, okay, we know where we're rushing. We're not going to run towards him. We're going to run away from him. Or if we do run towards him, it's because he's going to take an outside rush. They're not doing what they did last year. So I would have moved him back to linebacker. And I
agree with you. Man. Now, see, that's what the emergence of Sam Williams, though. Before then, they had to put him there because Dorrance couldn't hold the edge.
Now look at Dorrance.
No, I agree. But here's the thing, too, that's a little bit strange. If you go back and look at with Mike Nolan and during the time with Mike Nolan, Dorrance's strength as a player was capturing the edge. Now, go back and look at it. You guys get a chance. You know why we get busted on a lot of runs? Because Quinn loves stunts.
Yeah.
He loves to run.
Yeah.
And if you time that shit right, you'll bust it.
Oh, you can bust one open. Yeah, you bust it wide open because you can trap people inside. Yeah, you trap.
So they get them trapped. So Dorrance will either swing inside. He's not strictly playing per edge. And therefore, as much as I love Dan, and what does I tell people, there are a lot of coordinators who have tendencies. And if they don't have the talent to overcome it, or players who can overcome it, this is the type of stuff that you will have. Is that guys will do just what is assigned, or they'll try to do two more as opposed to knowing how to rally. And then unfortunately, defense is beat up. They don't seem like they have any answers. And it's going to be tough. I think they can still win Monday, but a lot of things are put out there on tape and you can't hide. You just can't hide the stuff you say.
Gotcha.
So here's kind of what I have to think about the linebacker position. First off, I'll address that momentarily once we get in the draft mode.
Draft mode is 365 days a year.
I like John already. I like John.
Listen, man.
But I'm a draft. I love talent. I love.
Okay. Me and John are gonna get along well. Yeah, me and John are gonna get along very well.
We're gonna talk about nobody knew until I don't have any more games to play. But go ahead and address the linebacker position, Brandon.
But when we played Tampa Bay in week 1 of last year, Micah dropped back into coverage 30 times. Actually, it was 29 to be exact. This year it was 4. So you have to think about what exactly, like John said, what he does to the linebacker position. For all intents and purposes, he lowers that particular position group by 1 because he is now figuratively an edge rusher. If you look at like Pro Football Focus, they will likely have him on their their whole like roster lined up at the edge rusher position opposite of D-Law. Like they'll have him on the right defensive end.
Right.
So with Anthony Barr looking like he's trudging through mud, you do have to find someone to help out Van Der Esch because we saw how vulnerable that position is without him. And it's ironic because for years he was someone that attracted so much ire from, the fan base. And Damone Clark was great as a pickup, but he was supposed to be, a future guy, a guy that we would hopefully,
see next year.
Yes, because
right.
With that being a back/neck injury, once it's a back or neck, it's always a back or neck. We learned that from Tony Romo. We learned that from J.J. Watt. The list goes on and on and on.
Tyron Smith, to be honest with you.
Yes, Tyron Smith.
Absolutely.
Sean Lee. It goes on forever, into infinity and beyond. So we do need guys who can play linebacker exclusively, to be able to help. And Anthony Barr, we definitely did have high hopes for him, but that Minnesota game was a mirage because he knows how they play. That was his what was it? His white whale, his Moby Dick.
Okay. And for this season, that's what you're saying. Okay,
and I believe that was his first game with us.
Yeah.
So we saw him come in, and that was his splash game. And lo and behold, we would never see that sort of performance again from him this season.
Okay. So if you going into the playoffs now, right? After you've assessed everything that you guys are seeing, so in your linebacking core, you go LVE, Clark, Cox, Parson. That's your four you're running with.
Because Curse is a hybrid.
You
run two backers at a time.
You have to bring. Well, Curse and Wilson do such a wonderful job at dropping down into the linebacker position, and hopefully you don't get exploited by Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, in those sort of situations.
Well, I have a solution to that.
Okay.
I have a solution.
Thank you, Segway Jones. Let me go ahead and introduce that. The Cowboys, are in the tournament. They have to, look under the bed and look the boogeyman in the eyes. As Chris likes to call him by his full name, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
No disrespect.
There we
That's
go.
what I call him. I'm not disrespectful like a lot of people calling him his nickname or short name. That dude's a legend. He's elite. I give all those guys a full government name when I show them respect. So that's how I feel about it. But go ahead.
So we have to go into Raymond James Stadium, in order to see Tampa Bay for the second time this season. In
Silence
week one,
yeah,
there we go. I was right up under them when I went to go see them play the Chiefs earlier this year. They can get loud, but in week one it didn't go so well. DMV, you said that you can potentially see how things can go different. Start it off for us, sir. What do you think?
Okay, so I'll start it off with pretty much something you kind of talked about before with Micah. The first time, week one last year, he dropped back 29 times, but when he was a linebacker, we kind of stopped the run a little bit better that game. This time around, this week one, they were able to dictate based on how we lined up. So Micah was mostly an edge, but Trayvon did not travel. Trayvon played a specific side. So what did they do? A lot of pin pull. We got tackles and guards coming straight at Trayvon, him trying to take them head on, and they're getting to the edge on us. So what I'm saying is, a lot of the times when they did do that, there was no receiver for him to line up on that side. It was maybe a H-back or, another tight end or something like that, and he's tight to the formation, and they're running a sweep towards him. I'm saying have him follow Mike Evans. have him travel with Mike Evans. If Mike Evans is going to be a glorified blocker, let them use him as a glorified blocker if they want to run that Trayvon Diggs. Another thing, too, Godwin is a huge part of their offense. They're a very limited offense right now. They're hurt up front just like we are. I'm saying make Nishan Wright your corner, too, and bracket Godwin with Bland. You follow Bland with him. I'm not saying that you stay in man with these guys while they're following them. We can mix and match zones, just like John was talking about. That doesn't change our defensive philosophy. Dan Quinn is known. He's known best for the zone scheme. We're actually more out of line with what he does by going man so much. All I'm saying is,
I have a question. When you say he does that, where was he when he was doing the zone?
It was in Seattle.
Yeah, but who really runs the defense in Seattle during that time? I was speaking.
Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll.
Yep. I'm just saying is that I just think that's a segue to something else. But I'm just glad you brought that. I just want to throw that in for something.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Boy,
Okay.
I love what you're saying.
But yeah, we brought in, like, think about this, right? Because back to what you were saying about the zone, what do Trayvon Diggs and Deshaun Wright have with their traits? They got the length in order to do that, to make things a little bit tough. We just got to be able to mix and match it. And if you go back to the Arizona game, I watched Arizona and Tampa this year. I had some fantasy implications on that game, but there were some things that Arizona did to pack in that zone. With the receivers that Tom doesn't trust as well right now, it's a little bit tough for him to get those quick throws like he really wants to. He still has trust issues with those guys. So we just got to be able to mix and match it a little bit better. But I do think that Mike Evans, Trayvon Diggs, just following him around, that keeps them from running at him. And that was a thorn in our side, that week one matchup with them. Even though the defense, they held strong and we got a lot of stops and field goals. We didn't do anything on offense, but I think that right there is a wrinkle that we can throw in to slow them up and make Tom Brady's day a little bit tougher. Maybe the rush gets to him a little bit faster this week because they don't have any. While teams are slowing Micah up, I mean, are they going to throw a chip on him and keep throwing chips? Like our defensive line was still a little bit athletic for them, and he had to get the ball out faster than he's ever gotten it out in his career. So just keep those things in mind.
Okay. Plus, they haven't run the ball. The last time they ran the ball effectively all year was week one. The lunatic is saying that in the chat. Shout out to Uncle Charles in the chat, man. I'm honored to have the great one there, man. And all you guys in there making comments are spot on. But you've got to be able to kind of dictate, like you said. You got having him travel with Mike Evans is one thing, but I just. My thing is with the rush or with these linebackers or even with Hankins coming back, I'm not trying to put Hankins on 45, 50 snap. Hankins was better, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, at the 25, 35 snap game. I kind of need, that's chef's kiss. I need him right there at 25, 35. If I can get Bohanna doing that and I can get whatever the Chauncey Golston giving us an image of a guy, who showed a lot of talent, but loved the weed so much with David Irvin. He kind of showed that these last couple of weeks, man. And I think the emergence from that, from the 3 tech, because I think that's our biggest issue. We don't have an explosive 3 tech to kind of marry up with the combination of Carlos Watkins, Hankins, and Quentin Bohanna. I think, between Chauncey and Osa, I think we need a little more explosive there.
You don't think Osa is an explosive 3 tech?
I think he's good. I'll put you like this. He's a very solid 3 tech and a second-year player. Everybody's looking for that your 3 tech to be all world in second year. It's a progression to what he's going to be. I think he'll be better his 3rd year. I think he's been steady, but I think he's also been slowed down with the lack of Bohanna being out, with Hankins being out, because we don't have that big guy with him.
I'm sorry for
Well,
cutting
no,
you.
he missed a couple games because of his knee. I think he missed like maybe 3-4 games because of his knee. And I think when that happens, you have to get Osa playing kind of out of position because even though he's playing D tackle, he's 270, 280.
Oh, I know.
He's more
I
explosive.
mean,
Yeah.
the problem is they have is with their running mate. I mean, everybody that has to play the nose, because if you go look at it, people double Osa. And then they just take whatever guy that's the nose take, they deal with him one-on-one. But when he does play, he plays too upright. He gets washed out a lot. David Gallimore hasn't played anything resembling a physical dominant force since his rookie year against that Pittsburgh.
Since his rookie year, right.
It seemed very promising. Hankins, that's a lot to ask a guy coming off a pec injury. I don't know how that's going to work out for him. I do agree, keep the snaps down. But they have a lot of issues. We have a lot of issues inside. And I mean, once again, as from offensive coordinator, I'm going to double Osa. He's 275. I'm going to deal with him, and I'm going to take your nose tackle. I'm going to handle him one-on-one.
Right.
That's usually it's supposed to be the opposite way. That nose handles someone, but unfortunately, we just haven't had the guys in the interior to deal with it.
Right. And I think us trying to. I think we did have a guy like we say here on Frankly Football. There is a secret vault of pictures, notes, or something that they pass around to guys until they get to a certain place. The only guy who had it, and I guess he passed it on. He passed it on to Josh Ball. We thought Terrence Steele had it. Terrence Steele just had to get better. But there's no reason why Ridgeway was in there wreaking havoc in a wrong color uniform when that's the kind of guy you needed. That's the kind of guy you wanted.
The only problem with that is, are you giving me the Bama boys too? Because I looked at Ridgeway when he played for us. He was getting washed out all the time.
I mean, but I think, but what I'm saying is that he only had one of them. He didn't have both of them. He had Deron Payne. Deron Payne's all world.
But here's the thing: we ain't even got one.
But we got to think about why Ridgeway isn't here, and the reason Ridgeway isn't here is for a guy who outplayed him during camp that is no longer on our roster.
That's no longer here. Oh,
hey,
not trigger trade.
Now listen, you said that. Honestly, I didn't understand. I know it was his last year, but I actually thought he was playing better than Gallimore. So I don't understand why.
I didn't understand why he's gone. I don't understand why he's gone now. Could have been gone last year.
I never understood the move, and it was just like, okay, if you can easily keep Gallimore by just putting him on IR, but I did think Tristan Hill outplayed both of them. They decided to get rid of him. I like John Ridgeway. A lot of people will tell you on Twitter I was big on him, but when I looked at him in camp, he was just getting washed out. He was always up. He was just getting washed out. And that was just something they decided they wanted to move away from him. I would have kept him and put him on IR myself.
There you go.
Him. That's what I would have did.
As opposed to someone like Tristan Hill. See, I hold grudges. Tristan Hill was someone who
Oh, see what you gotta say.
Yeah, see, Tristan Hill, he had a bad draw, man. He just had to get out of here. He just had to get out of here, and that's all it was. And they decided.
Hold on, when you say you got a bad draw, elaborate a little bit more. Get deeper, because I don't know what you mean.
Tristan Hill was the guy. The expectations for Tristan were way too high for who he was. Tristan Hill was never going to be an all-world interior guy, and the expectations were for him to be that.
It was who drafted him.
Where he got drafted at, John. Where he got drafted at.
There was no first-round pick. There was no first-round pick that year.
And he was the first
guy.
He was
the first guy drafted.
He was a second-round pick. I mean,
but he was the first guy drafted for the team.
Who was our D coordinator at the time? Because he was a D-line guy, and I can't think.
Ron Marinelli. He was on Ron Marinelli.
It was Rod's guy. That's why. That's why the pressure was so high. He was our first pick, and then he was Rod's guy because Rod stood on the table for him.
Right, and we pounded the table for him. I mean, when you look at what he did in college, he flashed ability, but he also flashed immaturity. And so that was
the biggest thing.
They decided to do. But that whole philosophy of how Dallas used to do things then, letting the position coaches dictate things, is not the way you should run things if you run an organization. You should lean on your scouts. They're the ones that look at the players 365 days. I understand coaches are going to want guys, but if I'm running an organization, it's just like, what type of guy you like? Like if I had to do a poll right now, and I'm just going to say D tackle, we'll go all the way around. Brandon, what's your type of guy as a D tackle?
As a D tackle, I love one techs, and it seems like the team doesn't like one techs. I want a one tech that's just going to eat space because that is going to assist in destroying the run game.
Okay, so you like a space eater. Okay, John, what's your type of D tackle you like?
My type of D tackle is an athletic guy that can play the run and the pass. You know what I'm saying? I like one of my favorite D tackles of all time, even though he's older now, but I love Ndamukong Suh because you ain't gonna move him, and he's gonna be a problem.
That dude was a force of nature.
Yeah,
Chris, your type.
Quentin Richardson. Quentin Richardson is my prototypical D tackle right now. Guy who can get upfield. You got to double team him. He can shed blocks.
Yeah.
Quentin Richardson is my guy. If I had to go out and spend money when the Jets were talking about getting rid of him, or when it was just fake news to get me to look at it, Quentin Richardson is the guy that I throw the whole house at. So, I'm gonna go a little free agency. If I gotta go break the bank this year, I'm gonna go pay Deron Payne. I'm going to go pay Deron Payne and get him here.
How much?
Don't give a damn. I'm throwing it all in. I'm breaking that. I'm selling the yacht. John, I'm selling the yacht. I'm getting Deron Payne here with him, match him up with Osa, match him up with Chauncey, and then I can really wreak havoc in the middle of the field. Move Michael back inside.
Why can't we just draft the guy? I don't understand.
Because they never gonna go in that kind of capital. They're not gonna go in the first and second round and go get a guy.
You know what? I'm gonna slightly disagree with that. With the current coaching regime, let me explain. When Jason Garrett was around, a lot of people wanted. I remember people talking about Earl Thomas. He wanted ET at the time. I wasn't one of those people. People talking.
I was saying hold you. I was.
But you was.
I was.
Okay.
But go ahead.
I respect that. So the biggest thing is kind of like what you said. I'm always been like, if you got a problem, you can fix it via the draft. Instead of trying to pay a dude, and if a guy is actually out there, there's a reason why he's out there.
Yeah.
There's a reason why. Hold on, let me finish.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
If you look at what Mike has been doing, the attempts. I ain't talking about the results, just the attempts. They have flourished at the safety. This is probably their best safety group in a long time.
What's the question?
Tyler Cole.
Yeah. He played great. He was all over the field.
He's a fantastic player. So they've did that. Now you try to look at the one text he's tried. Now I'm not saying I would have went this direction, but you've seen he tried to get Pope. That didn't work. They tried drafting guys, but sometimes it takes a while because you got to look at also this. When from a defensive standpoint, his first draft, if he would have went defense, we wouldn't have had CD Lamb. So they went for the best talent. Then later on, when they probably would have went corner, they didn't go corner, so they went Micah Parsons. The best defensive tackles or nose tackles so far has not fallen to us per se. I do believe they're going to address it, but you also got to look at when he inherited his team, he had problems on his offensive line. He had problems with corners. So it's like he can't get everything. That it just doesn't work that way. But I will draw it back because Brandon's a draft guy. So I'm going to ask you, in 2016, I wanted to fix the interior. And everybody said that I was stupid for this. And the guy that I wanted in a first round pick was Buckner, the defensive tackle. I did not like the Ezekiel Elliott pick. I still to this day did not like it because I do not think you draft a running back that high. Because I just think if you're going to invest that type of capital in the top 10, you want to try to get that potentially for somebody that is a 10-year player. Rarely.
I wanted Ramsey.
You want to
I wanted Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey.
This is just a philosophy thing for me. I don't do corners early either. Because I can get corners in the second, third, fourth round. History has proven that. Guys who destroy things up front, like being disruptive playmakers, those are guys in the first round. Sometimes you can get a guy and pop later, but usually they're in the front. And when you have them in the front, you try to go get them. Here's another player I wanted the year we drafted Michael Parsons. My number one guy was Rashad Slater.
But you couldn't get but you couldn't get
I was with you there too. I was with you there too. Hey, John. I was with you there.
You're right. You're right. You could have. Yeah, because he went. Right. You're right. He went after Parsons. You're right. Oh, I was a Rashawn Slater. Yeah, I was a Rashawn Slater guy. I'm on Twitter.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. But I'm with you. I'm with you. I had
a buddy say to me, "Well, where's he gonna play, John?" I said, "Whatever."
Everywhere.
I'm sorry. Wherever you decide.
Right. No, Tyron Smith is hurt every year. He's my tackle.
Well, the thing is, here I've watched him in college against Chase Young.
Me too.
Listen, that was his whole take.
Young so bad, they put Chase.
He switched him to the other side. Right. His walk-in interview. We had said this, and me and Brandon went back and forth. We said this during the whole draft process with that. He said Rashawn Slater walks into the building, goes into the interview. They say, "Hi, what's your name, Rashawn Slater? What can you say about me?" I whipped Chase Young's ass and get up and walk out. That's all he had to do. The whole process. And so
I'm big on getting guys in the interior. So for me, I wouldn't spend money on a guy like that. Here's the reason why. Here's the reason why you also don't want to do that. You got Diggs coming up. You got Lamb coming up. You got Michael Parsons coming up.
Hey, listen. I'm going to trust.
I'm not allowed to turn this into a full-blown draft show.
John, you trying? You know, and you rolling with Brandon. But I feel I feel what you're saying.
But you know what? I am getting off. Brandon, you the host here. Bring it back.
Can I say one thing before we get back?
Yeah.
The reason I did not want Micah over Slater at that point is that I did not trust his organization to use Micah Parsons right. So it wasn't the player.
No, when you say the organization, though, I mean, Mike McCarthy, if you go back and look at his Green Bay teams, like when he was with the Packers, his whatever his ultra linebacker that he moved around,
AJ Hall.
That was Clay Matthews.
Clay Matthews. Okay. Clay Matthews.
But that was Don Capers' defense, though. That was Don. Don ran it great.
I agree. Don ran it, but you also got to realize Mike is still the overall architect of how he wants it. And you remember his first year, he said, "I want a hybrid defense," which allowed Jalen Smith, when he struggled, to say, "Well, the defense is complicated." And I was like, "No, it's not." So I agree with you on that, but I also try to go by the coaches and see what they have did in the past and kind of see if they're going to get to where they're going to get to. But our organization has a lot of other problems, but I don't.
It was more of an organization thing and not Mike, because maybe Mike said, "I want this," and the organization saying, "No, I want him to be strictly a linebacker." And if you remember, that's what we played him as until our rushers, until Gregory was out, until D-Law went out, and we were forced to do things. I would
just wouldn't rush him off the edge all the time. I don't know.
I would move him around. I thought his rookie year he was better where he was from the middle, from the right side, from the left side. Yeah, he was all over.
That's why I wanted Devin Lloyd before we picked this year, because I wanted to be able to move him around and then have another backer with him. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was big on backer this year. You know, they wanted to get attacked, and it helped us. But look at us now. Now we got to rush them off the edge.
I think they're not using Micah properly. But I do think they need to infuse more Sam Williams. I think Sam Williams is the bigger body guy that can be able to get take a lot of stuff.
He's a natural. He's a natural.
Right. He's a natural defensive end.
But I agree with Brandon. I don't know if I would do that this late. I just don't know. I would have did it earlier.
You also have Dorrance. Dorrance has been very effective this year throughout the entire year. So you can, if you're not comfortable with Sam Williams, you can use Dorrance and be comfortable with it.
I don't know how comfortable I am with him now, because I think he's.
That's what I'm about to say earlier.
He's flatline. Fowler his flatline. They were very productive earlier in the year. But if you go look at how the things was, Michael Parsons was the alpha, and then everything else was kind of on him or allowing these guys to eat one-on-one. And a lot of these guys are not thriving in their one-on-one.
Yeah, they're chipping the hell out of Micah right now.
Right.
They're chipping him. They're throwing bodies at him. They're throwing I mean, nobody else is getting there.
And I like Barnes, but if you go back and look at a lot of his sacks, it's based off of scheming him up.
Absolutely.
But and I have no problems with this situation. I've always told people I think Dorrance Armstrong is overall a better football player than Randy Gregory. But I always thought Randy Gregory. I've always thought Randy Gregory was a much more natural pass rusher. This guy could miss the entire training camp, roll out of bed, and still give you 6 sacks. Now I'm okay with him gone. You know, when it's done, it's done. I don't harp on that when the player is gone.
Facts.
As far as I'm concerned. But I'm just saying, if you look at it, also, if you look at Gregory's last 2 years, he thrived as the season ended, not the San Francisco game, because everybody looked horrible.
Yeah.
A lot of these other guys, they're not, it's just Michael Parsons. And a lot of these guys are just not getting their one-on-one matchups.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because I've been telling people that, and they kill. I was like, man, I would kill for Randy Gregory on this roster right now.
People don't understand how good of a pass rusher that
is, man. Like when it was third down, it's like, the building would just go nuts because you never knew where it was. You didn't know where it was coming from.
And here's the thing too, he's the same weight as Michael Parsons, but the difference is he's 6'6".
He's 6'6" and long. He was 6'6". Yeah,
he's that big. Right. His hands are extraordinarily big. He's the prototype edge rusher for them.
Right.
I don't want to get too much in the draft, but that's definitely something they need to look at.
Don't worry about it, John. You'll be back. You and Brandon will be best buddies.
I love hey, me too. I'm a draft guy too. I'm a draft guy too.
Yeah, man. We definitely be getting that. So here's my go. Hey, B, go run with it, B, because I know you're about to spin us another direction.
I do want to kind of bring it back around to Tampa. I do hate when people automatically write us off as having lost to Tampa and we haven't snapped the ball once yet, because Tampa isn't, some invincible being. This isn't Stranger Things and we're facing like Vecna. I've been marathoning Stranger Things.
Okay.
So they are, they have been a thorn in our side, throughout the last 2 years, and this is going to be our third time facing them. But for as much crap as the pundits and the fans and people that just don't like the Cowboys give us, you have to use those same things for and against Tampa Bay as well. For example, do you know that the Buccaneers have only scored 20 or more points 7 times this season? And their record when they've done so is 4-3.
Gotcha.
It
was against I did not.
They just scored over 20 against Carolina. I know that much. And that
they got Carolina.
They scored over 20 against the Falcons and lost that game. They scored over 20 against Kansas City and lost that game. But they lost a few that you would think that they would lose. I know they scored over 20 against San Francisco and they lost that game. That's just off of the top of my head. But
it was the Ravens. They scored 21 against the Seahawks. They scored 23 against the Bengals, and they scored 30 against the Buccaneers. That was it. That's what I'm looking at right now.
You mean Carolina? Was it Carolina?
Carolina. I'm sorry, Carolina. My bad, bro.
Those are
that's good.
Those are wins or losses.
Even more interesting.
Carolina, they won when they scored 23. They lost to the Bengals. When they scored 23, when they scored 21, they beat the Seahawks. When they scored 22, they lost to the Ravens. This ain't no when they scored 31, they lost to the Chiefs. This is not 2000. This ain't 2007. This ain't 2000. Dude, this ain't Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. is a god, but the team around him, they're a bunch of names, and so you got to get past the fact of the names. Like, you know, when somebody puts a name out for the Cowboys to go get, oh, he's just like Xavier Rhodes came up. Oh man, he was a former Pro Bowl. They got names, but these guys aren't playing to the level of their names right now.
And the coaching isn't the head coach ain't the same. So it's not Bruce Arians, bro.
Yeah.
It's not Bruce. It's Todd Bowles. Now Todd Bowles is a thorn in our side, but he ain't Bruce.
But the only thing with that gentleman is that I get that, but then you got to look at the flip side. Jacksonville ain't considered no heavyweight. Look what they did to us.
That's true.
They ain't no heavyweight. Look what they did to us. Washington ain't no heavyweight. Look what they did to us.
That's very.
But I agree with all of that. I don't consider Tampa Bay a heavyweight. I do think they're beatable. But it's on the flip side, will Dallas be able to handle them? Because Tom, they know they are going to know this. We're going to run the football.
Okay.
We're going to run the football at them. We're going to force certain players. They're going to look for it because of the veteran aspect of it. Tampa is not this, invincible beast. I agree with you on that. But they have things they can actually hold their hat on more so than this current Cowboy group because they have nothing to hold their hat on.
They run the ball, a quick game. Quick game, run the ball.
Yep.
And we're going to be forced to tackle. We're going to have to tackle. That's it.
Well, there's nothing you can lean on.
I disagree with you, John.
Okay.
The Cowboys can score more than 20 points. When the Buccaneers opponents score 20 or more
points recently?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the Cowboys have.
Every game that Dak Prescott has been in.
Outside of Washington. We scored 27, 28 points since Randy Prescott's been back.
I don't even need 27 or more. I just need 20.
But we ain't scored 20 against them in week 1. So I'm with John because Tom can control the tempo of a game. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about because you guys were talking about rotating defensive linemen. Tom knows, Tom ain't going to let you just sit there and rotate no defensive lineman.
He's not a rookie. You're absolutely correct.
He's very smart, man. And they're very smart. And I get what you're saying, but all these weaknesses I see, I know Tom sees. I know that they're going to see. And they're going to and also they got to realize this. Yeah, I'm not saying all these interceptions as of late has been on Prescott, but there are times
not all of them.
Pressing.
But quite a few of them have been. Yeah. Not all of them. But quite a few of them have been.
So it's about half and half. It's about half and half.
It's half and half. And Balls is going to try to put them in situations that he is going to put pressure on them. And if you have a coordinator, here's the thing you can research, right? Find out what Kellen Moore's record is against top flight defensive coordinators.
That may take me some time.
It's gotta be bad. It's gotta be bad.
It's not pretty.
Yeah. I know it's bad.
It's not pretty at all.
And we don't motion either. We turn real stale.
Here's the thing you can do. Here's the thing you can run on them all the time because it's been done. It was done last year. Drop 7.
Yes.
Drop 7.
Yes.
Drop 7, and they have.
But you got to crowd the line. Show blitz and crowd and drop 7.
Yep. Because all the time, everything is all the plays that John said runs right into that coverage.
Yes. Run right into. They do not attack the. They don't attack the middle of the field at all. They do not attack the middle of the field. They and this is one thing that he has not figured out yet is to be methodical and just, hey, if I got to dump it down for 5, I got to dump it down for 7 and be methodical because they don't think he has the patience to be that way and drive the ball down. He has to get a chunk play. But if you look at all their pass concepts, bro, they don't attack the middle of the field at all. They don't send a crosser.
That's it. We don't use the high-low game at all, bro.
Not at all.
We don't mesh. We don't use the high-low. Darius concept. We don't use none of that stuff.
You running stuff routes is to attack a particular area within the field. And when you're trying to go for the big play, what does that happen, gentlemen? That means you got to hold the ball 5 or 7 seconds.
That's right.
Do it with a compromised offensive line.
Not right.
This ain't 2014's line. So you're putting him in positions where he can't thrive on that. And then the most explosive players never get featured. Not from a consistent basis.
Yeah. So
weakness.
Because
yes, sir.
Because my bad. And I didn't mean to cut you off, man. My bad. But it's because, like, I was talking to somebody about this earlier. Me and Jay Tuck were having a phone conversation, and it's like our offense is. If you guys are familiar with basketball, right? You guys know what the Princeton. You guys know what the Princeton offense is, right? Where it's not so much dependent on having superstars. We got all these nerds. We got to do a whole bunch of back cuts and this and that. We got the Princeton offense of the NFL, so it's never going to be good for any of our athletes. It's going to be, we got 4 guys out there. Find the right one. We're never going, for the most part, we're going to get CeeDee Lamb his touches. We're just not going to do it.
But see, here's
I disagree.
I think you can actually do that. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to the Jacksonville game. The first touchdown we scored was against, if I'm not mistaken, I forgot the player's name. I think it's Allen. I think it's Josh Allen, their linebacker. We had stuff on him. He ran a post play, scored a touchdown, and we never went back to that.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying. Point. We're not going to consistently do it. Like if CeeDee Lamb has 20 matchups that we think are favorable to us, we're going to throw him the ball 5 times.
Yep.
And it's going to work. And it's going to work all 5 times.
The most explosive player on that particular team is Tony Pollard. And here's the thing. Absolutely. I'm not saying Tony has to carry the rock 25 times. With Tony's ability to in coverage, we've seen this. You can actually use him as a coverage magnet sometimes to get CeeDee.
Yeah.
But no one, it just, I've watched this and I'm looking. Here's another thing. Let's say none of these guys, here's a player that people used to talk about and used to be like, oh, he's old, which he was. How, and I hear everybody talk about separation. The team can't separate. How did Jason Witten at 55 years old separate all this? Because of his route.
Technique. Because he understood the option. He was the option route.
And what he did is when you had a player like that, he overrode probably what Scott Linehan used to bring in there as a player. Yes. Like he may say, do this, and Witten is like, we ain't running that. Yeah, man. We're not gonna run that. This is what we need to run. So we have players, we have things, but I agree with you. It's so confusing to me and frustrating to watch. And I sit here and say, you don't manufacture offense, you don't attack with any type of purpose. Your route running doesn't come in particular areas. We stack up on each other all the time.
All the time. We run to the defender.
John mentioned this earlier. I hate emptying the backfield because you know what that basically says as a defense. You're not.
We don't.
Yeah. It takes away the element of surprise. Now one thing that you did mention is that you have to look for guys to exploit. The guy on that Tampa defense is Carlton Davis. You don't have to look for a linebacker in the middle of the field to do that. Carlton is an outside corner. You can line CD up against him, line Tony up against him, and find the what is it?
Find a scrub.
That's about the only time I ever seen him do that is week 1 last year. They threw absolutely.
They don't, but see the thing.
It was a Marty and CD. They just took turns on him.
I agree with what you're saying, but Kellen doesn't do that consistently. I'm one of these people like this. I don't deal with faith and hope. You got to show me, and you got to do it consistently where I can understand what's going to happen. The majority of the NFL is usually based on the most explosive player. Everybody want an explosive player. You want a guy that can change the game, and you attack the weakness of the defense. And you attack the weakness of the offense. So if you got a guy on the right side, they can't block.
Yes.
I'm coming at him all game long until you adjust. And we just don't do that on a consistent basis offensively.
Now, you know who kind of fell off on Tampa, though? Devin White kind of fell off as the year went on.
He ain't going to fall off this week.
Possibly.
He ain't falling off this week. He going to be back this week. Watch.
I just don't think Dallas – they just don't take the best players they have and exploit the matchups that they could.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
And it's a struggle. And as the season goes along, this is the same movie I saw last year, and the same movie I saw the year before.
That may be true. Let me ask y'all this: how important is it that you don't have to shoulder the burden of Dennis Houston and Simi Fehoko on your roster, because those guys were responsible for 8 targets in week 1.
I mean, I'm gonna hit it like this. No, I don't have to deal with Simi, and I don't have to deal with Dennis. But my problem is Michael Gallup is a guy right now. He is just a guy.
He ain't far from Dennis Houston right now. I'll be honest. It's the truth.
Wow,
That is very true.
That was a bad signing.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I hope that you are only right temporarily.
Nah,
I hope that you're only right temporarily.
No, but
look at the evidence.
Brandon,
Look at the evidence.
But Brandon, what I said, I told you this coming into the season.
Mm-hmm.
When he got hurt in December, I told you he was not going to be back until December or January. Okay, we're here now. But my problem was they brought him back early. They have him in their building. He had a high knee sprain or high ankle sprain, something last year, and it took him extremely long time to get back. Michael Gallup, when he's healthy, he's a toe drag guy. He's a physical guy, but he's not back yet. It always goes back to the point that the 3rd round pick they got gave them nothing this year. And now they had to go get T.Y., who is getting acclimated. This is 3rd or 4th week, but I'm looking for T.Y. to be my 2nd best wide receiver. And that's a bad basis for a team, as y'all say, player acquisition is a 365 a day year thing to do. They're using their structure and how they did this when they got rid of Amari Cooper has come to haunt them again. Even though CD has emerged as a number 1, you still needed to put another piece. You didn't have to go get number one, but you could have went and got a comparable number 2 that could have played until Michael Gallup got back. And you wouldn't have been dealing with
They shouldn't have re-signed Gallup.
Well, I mean, no, I think you got him on the cheap. I think you got him on the cheap. I like him as a player.
Hold on. What's his contract?
$11.5 million a year.
That ain't cheap.
11.5. Is it 11 a year? I don't think it was that much. What?
It's not cheap.
Yeah, he got a solid deal for being hurt.
Right.
I wasn't a big fan of letting Cedric Wilson just go without trying to get him.
I heard is they tried. He liked that money in Miami.
Yeah, man, that money was too. Miami gave him too much money. Money with you.
I mean, this happened. This is something they had buyer's remorse with Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
And but they messed up when they made the trade for him. The way they went about the trade.
Agreed.
I mean, when you look at trades usually in the NFL, this is how they got to this. To me, this complete point. They make the trade for him. They don't extend him. Then when they get him, they bid against themselves. He wasn't going anywhere. He even said he loved being in Dallas. $100 million wide receiver. And then when you start to hear Steven talk about his price tag, you can see they had buyer's remorse. So then they felt, and if you look at Michael Gallup, the last time he's broke 1,000 yards was his second year. That's 2019. Every year since then, everything has gone down. His targets, his averages, all of that. So, and then he's coming off an ACL injury. Usually, if you do that with a guy, you give him a 1-year deal. They signed him for what, 4 years?
4.
They can't get out of that deal.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, 5 years.
It's a 5-year deal.
But there is a potential out after 2023 for hardly any dead cap. It's like
so that means they still have to deal with him next year.
Yes.
Yeah,
nobody was going to knock down the door to get Michael Gallup.
And if they was, hey, go ahead. They should have reworked. The first thing they should have tried to do at the beginning of the year, they should have extended Cedric Wilson because they probably could have got him for less money.
Yeah,
should have
maybe $6 million a year.
They did the trade for Cooper. They should have extended him. He didn't want to be with the Raiders. So due to the extension, then they probably would have got him at that time for about $11 million.
$11 million, easy.
And so then they don't have to worry about the situation that they're in now. But they are where they are.
Dude, they signed that dude for 5 years, $57.5 million.
What's his guaranteed money? What's his guarantee?
His signing bonus was $10 million. His guarantee is $27.
Yeah,
his guarantee is $27. but they already gave him 10, so they owe him 17 for his guarantees. But Cedric's deal is 3 years, 22 million. You got
You
I told you it ain't cost that much.
Yeah, you could have kept him. You could have tried to rework.
And the guarantee ain't even that much. The guarantee is like $8 million. The guarantee for Cedric's deal is like $8 million.
But you got to know who you're going to go with and who you're not going to go with. But then again, here's another thing: their tight end unit is better than their wide receiver unit. So I
absolutely,
why tight ends now.
John, did you watch my? I was like, did you watch me last night talk on live? Because I said I want to see scrap the 3 receivers, give me some 22 and 21 personnel, and put Tony on the field. And Tony got to play some slot. You get him some quick stuff, let him do some routes.
But here's the thing, though, with Tony Pollard, he has did that. He did it in college, but we don't use him in that. We never use him in that.
Well, when we do, guess what? It's effective. It works. It works.
Never go back to it.
It works.
I mean, I have a theory why this stuff happens this way, but that's something else.
Play him and Zeke together. I just don't understand. Or give Malik Davis, when Zeke is looking like, all right, well, we got to keep him a little fresh. Give Malik Davis some
Zeke may not even be here. Zeke may not even be here next year, so we don't have to necessarily
if I was
worry
running
about
the team, he wouldn't have been here at all by this time. We
moved on from him. So we turn around, going back into this Tampa thing. Mm-hmm. Offensive line, going back and looking at the tape from what y'all saw, what y'all believe. If you had to rank them 1 through 5, who was the best, who was the worst? How do y'all look with the offensive line? Because in my opinion, it was like Zach Martin,
of course,
Jason Peters, Tyler Smith, Tyron Smith, and McGovern in the middle. That's how I rank them. McGovern was the weakest link inside there. So you're walking this week. I know we want to say our keys and cues and things of that nature. I don't think you have to make wholesale changes. I think you come in this week, you put Tyler Biadasz, my guy, back at center. You leave Peters at left, Tyler Smith at left guard, Zach Martin at right guard, and leave Tyler Smith at right tackle. And I think if you run that front, I think you run the ball somewhat better. I don't think you're going to run it as good as you did when Terrence was, because Terrence is, as you said, John, is a dominant run blocker. That is his forte. That's how he get down. And matching him with Zach Martin made him that guy. But I think bringing back Tyler Biadasz, even on a bad wheel, and that just goes to the testament of how bad Connor McGovern is. Even with a compromised ankle, I think your pocket gets stouter and it gives you the ability to run more. But I also think you got to go with the 3 tight end set. I think you should come straight out, Schultz, Hendershot, Ferguson, and just run it down somebody's throat with Tony all night until they stop it. Because they've already said you're not going to stick to the run. We don't believe you'll do it. You won't try to run to the middle. Where I think you go running Zeke, running Tony, run Zeke, run Tony, run Malik, come out of that 3 tight end set and go from there. And I think that's how you win the football game, by beating their defensive line up over a period of time, keeping the ball away, scoring points. And you get up 14, you get up by 7, 14, 21 points. And now Tom has got the throw that kind of plays into our hand where our pass rush can try to get to it, where you can run a little bit more rotation. What you guys think?
All right, so while I disagree with the personnel on the O-line, I do agree with the philosophy. I think that the offensive line should be Tyron Smith on the left side, Tyler Smith at the left guard. Of course, getting Tyler Biadasz back at the center because Connor McGovern cannot be there. Of course, Zach at the right guard and Jason Peters at the right tackle. All 3 of those tight ends have been excellent at some point this year. So getting them, who in totality have been better than the wide receiver unit, because behind Lamb, we've been struggling to find, some continuity in that unit. So getting, a heavy set in and, just getting that ball rolling. Okay, Chris fell off. It's cool. He'll be back. Getting that heavy set running and, having the train roll. You know, I think it was Devin White who started the press conference in week 1 and said, "Oh, we knew they weren't going to run the ball. We cannot have them knowing what we're going to do. That's unacceptable. We're going to have to get something's going to have to shake." And we're going to have a solid mix of runs, pass, play action, and motion, and you know just roll from there. John, DMV, you know what do you guys think?
I'm gonna listen to John first.
Got it.
I disagree with the flipping, like the tackle parts.
Okay.
I think I told everybody I thought probably 3 years ago, Tyron Smith is done. He looks horrible at right tackle. I don't know if he's going to be any better at left tackle from a physical standpoint. Mm-hmm. Peterson played well. A lot of people will probably disagree with me on this one. I saw Josh Ball's tape. The 2 plays that he had bad was in pass sets, so I'm going to help him out with the tight end. But from a run perspective, he's much better at this stage. That don't mean he's a better overall player throughout his career. But if you go look at his run blocking, it's just ahead. But I agree with you on this one, Brandon. I don't know if I would make that change now because it's so late in the season. I probably would have did that a long time ago and still went down and just roll with him and let him get acclimated. So by this time, he would be better. So whatever situation they decide to run with, I mean, they're probably going to do Pete. I'm going to say this. I wouldn't be surprised if they do Tyler Smith, Connor, Biotis, Martin, Smith, because that's what they've been doing throughout. I wouldn't, but I believe that's what they're going to do. This game would not be a Ezekiel Elliott game for me. It would be a Tony Pollard game.
There we go.
He's a much more explosive back. He's a much more explosive player. So I need explosion. The few players that's explosive is him. I am running with these tight ends, and I'm going to be using them not only in the run blocking, but in the passing game. So I'm going to put them in matchups that's more favorable. I may even come out with a power set to be physical. They need to be physical. And the biggest thing they need to do is cut down on the mistakes because that has killed everything for them. It's just continued to happen. I wish he would do this. I don't think he would. If I was Mike McCarthy, I would take the keys away from Kellen Moore. And I would run the offense because at times it gets too tricky. At times we have positive yards. Everything is conventional. And then they decide to pull out some gadget play that kills the momentum. I need Prescott to play the best football of his career because I think this game is really, really big for a lot of people, for coaches, for players. But I am going to be physical. I'm going to do 3-step drops. I'm going to go look for favorable matchups. And I'm going to target that corner, probably with everybody. Yeah. I am going to use Hilton, but I'm going to use Hilton also again as a coverage matchup. That's like last week against Washington. I think Noah Brown has been effective as a 3rd or a 4th receiver, but why are they running him 50 yards? That isn't a strength ahead. It is with T. It's a strength. Even if you're not going to throw to him, he can still take away coverage, and that helps you underneath, which you can use those tight ends for. So I'm down, John.
Sorry, I had to dip out, fellas. The wife called, man. You know, she's in school, so I just check on the queen. I got to check on the queen.
Hey, Brandon said you would be back, bro. You back?
Yeah, man. All right.
I agree with a lot of what y'all. I agree with a lot of what y'all are saying. For me personally, my lineup on the line would be Peters at left tackle, Tyler at left guard, Tyler Smith at left guard, Biotis, Zach Martin. And probably go Tyron Smith at right tackle. So I understand what you're saying about Josh Ball, but I'm not putting him in this game just because I know because I know the magnitude of this game. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
What?
But you,
Chris.
What I would do, there are times I will put him in the game, but not as a right tackle, but as an extra line.
Well, as a jumbo?
Yes. There are times I would do that. To help, I just think they've had issues only when I need to run the ball because I think they've had issues on that particular side. Just for Tyron learning a new position at times, and I just think it would help from a physical standpoint. I'm not going to run it a lot now.
Yeah, I feel you. I would help Tyron with the tight end. I would help him with a tight end.
I'm putting. I'm putting Ferguson and Henderson on there. Josh Ball ain't getting on the field for me under no circumstances, but I understand. I feel where you at.
I agree with what you're saying about this not being the Ezekiel Elliott game. But if you go back to week 1, right, Zeke had a little bit of fresher legs. Zeke killed them, and Tony did not. I think it's more of a Malik Davis game. I'm not saying
I'm fine with that, Malik.
Obviously not give him 20 carries, but give him 5. You know what I'm saying? Sprinkle him in 5. I want more 2-back sets. I mean, with Tony Pollard playing some slot, moving around, just respect. Because see, the reason I say put him in the slot or move him around, that takes maybe a linebacker out of the box. They won't have to. You have to respect Tony Pollard with a safety or a backer out there at least. You know what I'm saying? Then that way we can kind of dictate to the defense rather than the other way around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I agree with you about that. None of this long hey, no. We need simple concepts that where he can get the ball out. We need more of a game plan for Cooper Rush this game, in my opinion, because I don't think we're gonna put up a whole bunch of points, but we need to be effective. We need to be effective at what we do and cut down the mistakes. You know what I'm saying? What else would I do? I agree with the tight ends. Like I said, I'm cutting down on the third receivers because we're not effective. The reps that I'm splitting, if I am going to do that with 3 receiver sets, Noah Brown and Michael Gallup are splitting reps. And at this point, I got to go with T.Y. Hilton. Getting more reps. I mean, it just is what it is.
Is what it
is. We got to find a way to get CeeDee Lamb in positions to make plays. We can't forget our 2 offensive playmakers, Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb. They have to touch the ball early and often. And I'll give you guys another tidbit on something that I would do. Just because I need Tony Pollard to touch the ball a lot and I'm not saving anything, I'm even considering putting him on kick returns. I'm even considering that.
There we go. We haven't talked about
it. I wouldn't be against that. I've always said when they drafted him, I was like, I would give him 5 touches out the backfield, 5 receptions. He would get punts, kickoff return. I just think he's too dynamic of a player. But I can't erase last year's playoff game.
I'm with you. That's why I'm like,
Pollard had 2 touches.
Yeah.
It just
Terp ain't doing nothing for us in that return game.
Liability.
Even if he'll kick it out the end zone, we won't risk Tony Pollard getting a big play because we were at our best when Tony Pollard was giving us 1 big play a game at least.
But here's the thing to piggyback. Would you put both of them back there?
Yes. Turpin and Pollard. Yeah, I would put them both back there.
Might as well because ain't nobody blocking right now in special teams. So you might as well. I mean,
I would put both of them back there to make it to the threat of whoever they kick it to. Both of them are dynamic. I think Turpin is pressing. I understand having the 2 turnovers in the last 4 weeks makes it to the point. Hey, get rid of him. But I still think
I wouldn't want to get rid of him. He just
I don't want to get rid of him. But people,
because we don't have anybody else. We're gonna put CeeDee Lamb to catch punts.
Right.
No, but I think even on the one that he muffed, when you see the replay, he didn't give himself room to catch it. It was like
he's been bobbling punts. He's been bobbling punts for about 2 months now, Chris.
Yeah, it's been kind of.
I don't know what it is. For about 2 months now. I'm not even saying hold you.
But I think
it's just he bobbles his way off of this roster next season. That's the bottom line.
I don't think he bobbles his way. I don't think he bobbles his way. I think
wait a minute. You're going to cut
I'm not cutting him. No, I'm not cutting him. I just believe he's just like your quarterback said. My quarterback said in the press conference, "I'm pressing to make a play." And this team does not have and it comes from inside having that stabilizing factor. Just like John said, just like Brandon said, just like you, DMV said, they don't do anything particularly well to calm the storm. They don't have a set thing that they can do to say, okay, let's get us back in rhythm to what we're doing. And so these guys start playing hero ball. You trying to figure out the 3rd and 30, the 52-yard pass to a dude I'm not trying to throw to, come back to the same play and try to throw it up the seam to CD. listen, let's just get something comfortable. 7 yards here, 5 yards here, run here, stabilize ourselves, and then we can start dictating what we want to do. And that's what I haven't seen them do that. I haven't seen them really do that. They did it well against Philadelphia, but the last couple of games, they're just trying to knock it. They're trying to knock everybody out with one shot.
But they've been like that for day one though. They're a very aggressive unit. But I just don't think sometimes you have to change with your personnel. And
how much of that lies on the scheme though?
Would you say
because how much of that lies on the scheme? Because you kind of see that change when they go into no huddle.
Yeah, but you also, I believe when they go no huddle,
yeah,
I'm feeling that they're not getting. I think Prescott is not getting plays, and he's doing off of what plays he decides to run.
So that should tell you what we know. That should tell you what we know and what everybody else knows. Because that was the only touchdown we scored in the Washington game.
Go back and look at it. Go back and look at when it's a regular set with offense. And he's going through whatever he's going
Constipation.
Yes, there's always some weird play that's thrown in there. Now, as a quarterback, though, he has the ability to audible out of it. But if you always, and I don't know this, I'm guessing with this part. If you remember years ago, I remember Amari Cooper told him to change a play. And he said, just run it, Coop. Even though Cooper saw it differently, he did. Now, I'm not blaming him per se because I don't really know what's in his mind. But as a quarterback, you got to know your personnel. You got to know the situation. That's why we pay you $35 million. Not just him, but everybody. Like what John said. Tom is going to set the pace. He knows. I've seen sometimes Brady hand the ball off 38 times because he knew this was what he needed to do. And so sometimes these gadget plays, as a quarterback, he has to say, I'm not running this.
Yeah. It's not the time. It's not the place. It's not the situation.
I know for a fact Tom wouldn't run that shit. I know that for a fact. Excuse my French. Tom will be like,
I'm not running. And
we're not running this.
Here's another. Bruce Arians' philosophy is very similar to Scott Linehan. And what I mean by that is he loves to go for the big play. He loves to do that. Brady came up there 3 weeks. This isn't working. And so they started to manufacture offense. That's another thing. We don't do any rub routes. We don't do anything.
Oh, none of that.
Consistently use motion. I remember when we did motion one time, everybody on Twitter was like, oh my God, Kellen Moore's in his bag. I'm like, that ain't no bag. Motion is part of football. What are you talking about? It's nothing new.
Hey man, that's the bag, baby. I want to do what Kansas City did this week.
No,
I want to do the circle. I want to do the circle huddle like Kansas City.
Bro, they look at the score at like 35. I'm like, no, that is the players overcoming this scheme. Even when we score 35 points, it's always it doesn't look crisp. It always looks hard, even if you score that amount. And all great offenses have something to go to. And I hate when people say it's predictable. Really? What's that kid who plays for Miami right now? Tyreek Hill? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill and
when he played in Kansas City, I used to always tell me, remember the game last year? I think it's last year when they played Buffalo. And Kansas City gets the ball. And I'm hanging out with a girlfriend at the time. She said, who getting the ball? I said, Tyreek Hill. She said, how do you know? Because they always go to Tyreek Hill. If you look at us, that isn't the case.
Yep.
Like we'll have moments, we'll have a game, but there's no consistency with it.
Yeah, I mean, like when City played the game, what was it? The Philly game, where he turned around and had that first half, had eight catches, 100 yards in the first half. I was like, okay, Kellen, they're going to double him. What's your counterpunch? And the counterpunch should have been Tony Pollard or to the tight ends. And I think
put them in motion. You ain't got to keep them. You don't have to have them as the X or the Y. You can move them in motion. Therefore, that dictates what the defense is doing.
Right.
Here's the thing. Up in Minnesota, what's all the weapons they got up there? They got Devin Cook,
Justin Jefferson,
Adam
Thielen,
TJ Hawkinson.
No, they got TJ Hawkinson.
And then what they do is they maximize. They always move Justin around. They move him to get him the most favorable matchups.
Yeah.
And so when here's another one. When you play the 49ers, what are they going to do, Jeremy? They're going to run the ball. And Shanahan is like, I don't care. We're going to run it.
We're going to run it at you.
Run it down your throat, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just efficiency. We're not very effective and efficient with the playmakers that we have. or to compensate when we lose players, and to find out what's the best things they do. We just run the same stuff. Yeah. It's like, come on, bro. We ain't got the same players out here.
Yeah, so, you ain't got the same guys, so you think you can run the same stuff
scheme a little bit.
Yeah. So it's a lot like, even though Jason Garrett still is in the building, it's kind of, and me and Brandon talked about this before, it's still the same philosophy of when Garrett was there.
Because
the older permeates the hall.
Kellen is still his protege. Kellen was handpicked by Scott Linehan. He was his quarterback up in Detroit. He came down. Who did Garrett's first job was done? Scott Linehan. If you go and look up at Detroit, they used to run. They never attacked the field. But the only thing is they had Stafford, who at time is aggressive. He's like, I'm just throwing the ball. But who they had? They had an ultra talented Megatron who could just overcome. He could overcome your scheme. Right. If you look at all the stuff we do, everything is vertical. It's even more congested at times.
Yes.
And somebody put on a thing the other day. It was like, man, I wish we bring Skylar here and back because of the screen. I think it was the game when Ezekiel had the screen against Pittsburgh.
We still run that same damn screen and don't work today.
Right. The thing is, when Zeke does it, that's just a player overcoming it. It's not even a good screen. It's just a player overcoming. We don't run the screen consecutively. You can see that we don't do it consistently. It's smooth. Yeah. It's just, oh my Lord. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't stand.
You know we're gonna run the screen because we always do the orbit motion, and we barely give it to the orbit motion guys. So when the orbit motion, and we always run it to the same side. It's always to the right.
We always tip off. If we got two backs in there, we know it's a gimmick. If Turbin's in there, it's a gimmick. Everything is tipped off. It's just Kellen Moore. I just don't understand why they've stayed with him for as long as they've stayed with him. Absolutely. He's just not the right person. I mean, if they need to enhance and make Dak a better quarterback, get a guy that can develop him further from what Jason was. If you wish to weaponize the team, find me a coordinator that can weaponize.
That can coach your quarterback.
Because let McCarthy find the coordinator, though. Let McCarthy. Because absolutely. Honestly, his philosophy is West Coast. I think Dak would be a better quarterback in the West Coast system because it has principles that you can go back to. Not to mention, it's been around for fucking ever. It's been around for forever.
And everything is around forever. Yep. If it's a 3-step drop, the ball comes out at 3. 5 comes out at 5. But here's the thing: I was always surprised when Mike got fired in Green Bay. He said to the entire world, "Wherever I go next, I'm calling Blaze." So then he gets to
survey says that's a lie.
Yeah. Then he gets to Dallas.
Hey! We don't have enough time, John. We do not have enough time in life to go to no, because that's gonna go into the ravine of the owner, and that's gonna be the issue. But everything y'all saying is spot on. But here's my question. Y'all been amazing. Here's my question. Do we win Monday night?
Yes. I say that with confidence. Yes, we won Monday night.
What you think, B?
Yeah, I was going to get Brandon go.
Okay. Yes, I believe so, because I believe that we can consistently put up more than 20 points. And Tampa Bay, when opposing teams put up more than 20 points, they've only won once this season.
Okay. All right. John, what you got?
I'm on the fence. I mean, I can't say confidence that they can win it. I'm not with confidence saying they can win it, but they're capable of winning. I'm not going to say they will win. My confidence in them is kind of shaken within this thing. Seeing things about them. When they get into trouble, they've been showing, which I hate to say this, but they've been showing signs of being a front runner team. And so when they start to have trouble, they can't put the fire out, whether it's on the offensive side or the defensive side of the ball. They just don't have a lot of things for me to come with and say, okay, they can handle this, or they can do this, or even with the coaches. So I'm going to root for them. I do like situations like this because I like to be proven wrong. They're more than capable, but it just looks like 2021. When they win, and they play. Now San Francisco is a superior football team compared to the Bucs.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah, but the Bucs still, in their mind, will know they don't run the ball. We know we can run the ball. We know who we are. They're not going to try to do things that they're not capable of. I just don't know. That's a sports thing for me where I'll just be like, man, I can't look at film and then make myself think something else.
Got you.
Chris?
I'm gonna ride with them. I think they can. I think they're because of this year they haven't lost back-to-back games. I'm going on some things that I know they haven't done. They haven't lost back-to-back games. Whenever Randall's had a bad performance, he's come back and he's played stellar. I think the addition of some guys coming back will help the defense tilt a certain way. But I'm with y'all all day long. I don't trust Kellen. I don't trust Kellen no more. How far I can throw him, I just don't trust him. And y'all said it, and I think the chat has said it before. No huddle offense, run the ball, all these different things. I just don't believe Kellen to be able to say, you know what, I got this mismatch here. I'm going to work this mismatch. I got my three tight ends. I'm going to work this. Hey, I'm going to run a three-headed monster in my running back situation and get Tony 18 touches, Zeke 12, Malik Davis 7. I just and when they play like that, I think they're unstoppable. We haven't seen Tony Pollard on a wheel route against a linebacker since Minnesota. Can't understand that for the life of me. Can't understand how we have not seen.
I have a question though.
Go ahead.
If they lose, well, no, I don't say that. Don't you also have to start questioning the quarterback?
I question him now. I
see the red light come on.
I see your red light come on.
I see the red light come on.
You know why red light came on?
I'm gonna pitch this one to you, D, because you can, he's a 7-year vet.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a second-year player or a third-year player. Like I said, if there are things in there offensively that's being assigned to him, he has to say to himself, I'm not running this. The quarterback's job is to mask problems. The quarterback's job is not to add to the problems.
I think he's masked a lot of problems, John. I believe that.
You mean 15 interceptions in the last 12 games? That's masking.
Who does he sound like masking problems? Who does he sound like? Who does he look like? Masking
he looks like the guy who makes $50 million and sits in the booth and wants to watch him lose all the time. He's doing. Listen, they are Spider-Man. They are one and the same. He is Tony Romo, and Tony Romo is Dak Prescott.
He's Yellow Romo.
Hello. The only difference though is when Prescott's career started, he was not a guy that turned the ball over a lot.
True.
If you look at his history, he was always better at not turning the ball over.
Oh yeah, I think. But John, going back to what you're saying, he had a record of being of consecutive passes without throwing an interception. First couple of years, he was very, very careful. But I also think his he is compromised in one particular unit, which we've already said in wide receivers, and they are not putting him in advantageous positions by running the proper personnel out there to be productive.
Then what I'm saying.
Okay.
What you do throughout the week, you set the game plan up.
Right.
That's what happens. So
but John, Kellen won't set the game plan up to run the 3 tight end set to save his goddamn life.
But here's the thing. The quarterback has some influence to say what I like and what I don't like. If you're running certain things out there, he has to decide that. I'm not defending Kellen, but Kellen ain't telling him to throw off his back foot across. That's on the quarterback. Kellen's not telling him to throw in the middle of the field and his 3 guys. That's on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Kellen's not telling him to continue to. It's like also like this. Let's go with the Cooper thing a little bit, not too long. If he's not being featured, you're the quarterback. You can feature him. You're the guy that
he did it to you. Yeah.
In the Jacksonville game, as bad as it was and as controlled it was, the defense didn't play as well, but they turned the ball over. So they have a chance. Just get a first down. I think we had a timeout. That's a time where you take a timeout as a quarterback and decide what is the best play for us to get this game to control it. Like D said, you're the quarterback. You touch the ball all the time. So you have to decide and dictate patterns. You got to know who's fast and who's not fast. If I'm the QB and I get a play to say we're throwing Noah Brown's 50 yards, you're crazy. I'm not running this shit. I'm just not.
I think going back, Stevie Mack made an excellent point. He said in the chat, Stevie Mack said, the O-line when he was playing from 2016, that was almost at the end. That was the end of the golden era for that offensive line. That
Yeah, it helped.
2016.
Right. All of that helped.
Yeah, that helped.
But in 2016, though, he wasn't forcing things and pressing. And he said he said something revealing when he was doing this. He said, "I believe in my arm." And I'm like, when did he become a gunslinger? Because that's what a gunslinger says. He's believing in his arm.
I don't believe in his arm. I'm gonna be honest. He's a leg thrower. You ain't got.
But he doesn't do it properly because you do supposed to use your hips. If you look at it with like you're talking about the West Coast offense, it's all about your timing and your feet. When you look at his interceptions, it's always he's off balance. He's throwing. It's just he has to settle down. And I agree, Kellen is not calling, but he has some say. He ain't a 2-year player, man. He ain't the league.
That's why I say get Kellen out of there because he ain't getting coached. He ain't getting.
Yeah.
You ain't getting coached hard enough by your peer, bro.
I agree with that.
That is an issue though. Dak and Kellen are looked at as peers. Dak and Doug Nussmeier are looked at as peers. Dak hasn't had a coach, an offensive coordinator, or a QB coach that has coached him up since John
Kitna. Since John Kitna left.
But I can't. There's two people, Kitna and I thought Wade Wilson. But they got rid of both of them. They got rid of.
Wade died. So
no, I know, but I remember.
Yeah.
Before they moved off. He passed away at that particular time. I agree with you on that. I've always wanted them to go out to get Jim Caldwell, ex-coach. If you look at his history as far as... Is
it too late for me to reveal my guy? Or too early for me to reveal my guy?
No,
Frank Wright?
No.
My guy's Frank Wright.
That ain't his guy. That ain't his guy. And no, his wife ain't letting him come and do it. So don't even go there.
Who is
his wife ain't... Kurt Warner. That is his guy.
That's who I want to come in and coach that.
Nah, Kurt's not. He making way too much money. You know the hours coaches put in? Dude, he ain't don't do that.
Yeah, Kurt ain't, I'm telling you, Kurt wife ain't letting him do that. You got to go fight.
What about the ex-head coach of the Cardinals?
Nah, I'm good.
No, I'm just asking. I didn't say it's a head coach. I'm not saying
that. You meant as an OC.
As an OC.
Yeah. I wasn't even a big fan of him as an OC. I mean,
I'm not.
I thought Kyler was making plays. I thought Kyler was running around making plays, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And people figured that shit out.
Yeah.
So
his past history of the guys he developed that came into the NFL don't hold no weight with you?
He kind of tripped and fell into like his last two roles. Before he even had a game in his last role, he got scooped up in the NFL, right?
I mean, the guy Cliff Kingsbury has on his resume. He's got Kyler Murray. He's got Kyler Murray and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick's an alien, John. So I don't.
So you don't give him no credit for any of the guys he's developed?
No, he's from.
Here's my thing about Cliff, right?
We talk Wakanda. So
remember the things you talked about, being able to get your offense to do things when you need to do it, things to fall back on that we do well. I never thought Arizona had that. And watching Arizona play, and I've watched Arizona play a lot of times. There's nothing that I look at and say that's a staple of what Cliff does. So I'd like to have some.
But what about before Arizona? I agree the Arizona thing was a mess. I'm not denying that. But I'm just saying, what about his history before that? I'm not advocating for him now. I like Tom Crawford.
Right. You just answering the question. Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out.
I personally don't think that Cliff has enough. I still think he's more of a peer to Dak coming in here than somebody that's going to coach him hard.
Okay.
That's just
I can understand that. I can agree with that. I would prefer getting somebody that is, because actually I wanted Doug Peterson at that time when he was on the market, just as a
I agree.
I was like, I don't need the mail boy running.
Again, same tree that we're talking about here. That's why I want Frank Wright.
Yeah.
That's why I said Frank Wright. We're talking, variations of the West Coast offense. Under the Andy Reid Holmgren tree. I'm big on that. I think that adding the West Coast to that.
What about the quarterback coach for the Chiefs and make him the coordinator?
He left and he's in New York as the offensive coordinator. You talking about Mike?
Who's the current one now?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I would have to look him up and look up his track record. Okay. But I know Mike Kafka was their quarterback coach for a couple of years now, and he's the OC in New York. I actually wanted Mike a long ass time ago.
Yeah, I did too.
So I'm with you there. I'm looking at what Andy Reid has over there. I would have to look it up. I'm not against what you're saying. I just got to see what they got because he always got a young guy.
You actually named the person. I haven't followed the Chiefs like that, so I didn't know he left Kansas.
Yeah. He is now the OC in New York, the Giants. So,
I would have to come up with more names. Of course,
we know who you want. Brandon put in the chat. He wants Kurt Warner. No, he loves Kurt.
He's dead serious.
He's dead serious.
I'm actually serious about Kurt Warner as a quarterback coach.
He loves Kurt.
A quarterback coach?
Yeah,
he ain't gonna come back as no coach. He'd be an OC if he came back.
I don't know if I was
him with zero coaching history would be a hard.
But he ain't gonna come out the boot just to be a quarterback coach.
No,
maybe a consultant.
Yeah. What about him? But see, they got Ben McAdoo as a consultant. I don't want him there. Brandon, I don't want to take any of what he said. Nathaniel Hackett is out there on the street. I would think Hackett needs to come back as an OC somewhere to revitalize his career. I think he got a bad deal.
I'm gonna go with this one still. Why don't Mike McCarthy just call?
Thank you. I was about to say that.
Come on, John.
Mike McCarthy. And get a quarterback coach in here and let Mike run the thing. Because he got to listen to his coach, bro. Got to listen to his coach.
The thing is, you go back and look at when Mike took over Green Bay, the year before he got there, Brent Favre looked washed. He got the best that he could get out of him. He developed Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people like to talk about Aaron later. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm going back green.
The guy who actually developed Aaron Rodgers?
You back now.
And look at his time with New Orleans. And he had Joe Horn, Aaron Brooks, Deuce Daly, Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams had over 1,000 yards. Deuce Daly had over 1,000 yards. Joe Horn had his best season. Aaron Brooks, I think, was a Pro Bowl alternate.
He was a Pro Bowler. Yeah.
Mike knows what I just don't understand why he just don't call the plays.
You know what else I like about him calling plays? He adds little wrinkles to what he has. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
With what he has. Like, think about this. Do y'all remember, like, it would be certain things. You knew he was getting the ball. You didn't know when he was getting it. But that damn John Kuhn used to have a meaningful carry every game in Green Bay.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Mike used to attack the middle of the field. And another thing.
Absolutely.
He's a big advocate of tight end use. He always did that.
Yeah. And they got him there. But here's the crazy part about it, fellas. If they don't win Monday, and they get rid of Mike, they ain't gonna have no problem with the next guy they want to bring in here to let him call plays. Still don't understand why they won't let Mike call plays. The other guy that they want to bring in, the other guy they willing to give draft picks up for, they gonna let him call plays, but they won't let Mike call plays. I'm just saying.
But here's the thing with that. Jerry's ego is tremendous. If you go look through his history, the only few coaches he allowed, Sean Payton is going to want absolute power.
Absolutely,
he's going to want to be the football voice.
He's coming in like two-handed Jamie Lannister. He want power. He want it all.
That's the thing. I don't believe that will happen because I don't believe Jamie is not willing. Has not shown that he is willing to share the stage. When he was with Jimmy, the only reason we didn't see him then because he was paying off the loan that
he was in debt. Yeah, he was trying to keep lights on.
When he had Parcells, he was fine, but always about year 3, Jerry either signs a player.
He needed Parcells. He needed Bill so he can get that stadium built. That's what he needed stability for. He got the stadium passed. That's what he needed him for. And as soon as he got that, he was back to his old ways. I say this, and I'm gonna let y'all. The problem is no longer Jerry. The problem is commoners, and that's Steven. Steven is now commoners. He want to off his daddy so he can be in control.
Oh,
now,
Prince Joffrey? Prince Joffrey?
Huh?
Hold
No, he's communist. He's communist from Gladiator. He's willing to kill Caesar so he can be in control. That is the problem we have right here, because it makes no sense that, see, this is why I say this, John, and follow me on this. Steven told us last year we wouldn't go get a guy because that's when you're going to go make a playoff or a Super Bowl run.
Right.
So you turn around and got this money back that you didn't want to pay Amari. And I know you got to play CD. You didn't know CD was going to be the monster he was. You already know it's going to be a problem with Trayvon, because Trayvon going to want his money next year. He going to be the guy. He going to be the guy. If you don't believe me, look at his brother. He going to want his money next year. As soon as this season over, his agent going to send the fax and the money. He going to want his money. So the problem is Steven don't want to pay nobody. John, Steven,
hold on. Wait a minute.
Come on.
When people say that, they say he don't want to pay anybody. Okay, so we just said
no, but John, he doesn't get ahead of it. You said it best. You could have got ahead of Amari's deal. You could have got ahead of Amari's deal and not had to drug it out. You didn't never have to pay Zeke. You did it because you thought you were smart about it. You could have got ahead of.
But hold on. But wait a minute now. Let's not just assume, because Dallas don't run things like every other organization. Like, they don't have a GM and then a head coach. Jerry runs this as this board of directors. So everybody has their particular input about what goes on. A lot of people get on Steven. I have problems with Steven, but I have less so than with his daddy. Let's not remember, his daddy gave up a first, a third, and a fifth for Roy Williams. Let's not forget, his daddy gave up 2 first-round picks
for Joe Galloway. His
daddy extended Tony Romo, who had a bad back at the time. Let's not forget all the other money he gave. We had all that dead cap space. We was in cap for a long time. Steven has did a lot of things. If you look, one, he's decided we're going to be a draft developmental team. Is he perfect? No, he's not. But no GM.
Right.
I can point out every GM that makes a mistake. But if you look at the way the roster is constructed under him and the way it is as far as deals, when has Jerry ever had anything constructed where there were outs? Now, I don't know about the Zeke thing. I don't know who was the deciding factor on that.
Okay.
I have thought that, because I have heard one time in a game where somebody said, well, look at all the Zeke jerseys. Because most teams would have moved on from him. Right. But they extended him for whatever reason. I have no idea. They decided to play chicken. But you got to remember this. They have gotten ahead. They got ahead, but they got ahead with the wrong people. Tyron Crawford, remember that? They signed him before he got free agents. Right. Jalen Smith. They got ahead with that.
But John, Jalen was a good story. Jalen was a great story.
I know, but
Dak Prescott was a better story.
Yeah,
Dak Prescott was a better story.
Right, and they played chicken with Dak. They played chicken with Amari. And here's the problem.
They didn't play a chicken with Amari. They signed him the first day out of free agency and made him a wide receiver. They made him
but you could, but what did you say? Right, but what you turned around and said is that when you knew he didn't want to be with the Raiders, you could have signed to an extension early.
But what I'm saying is that's how I would do it. See,
no, that's what the whole world saw.
I'm saying everybody doesn't do that because people think it's just Dallas. So let's go look at the Rams right now.
They ain't hell though. They ain't hell.
But at the time when they decided to give, who was the other running back that was Todd Gurley? They signed him to.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of people make mistakes. No one's perfect. I'm not saying that I like the way they run things because I don't like the way they interview Jerry all the time. I don't like the way they do everything as a board. Yeah. It's just that's not the way it is when you have a good, stable organization. But on the flip side, let's not forget Stevens saving cap. Remember the deal when we got Robert Quinn for $7 million? For a 6-round pick. He also saved money. So every deal he has as far as cap room, I have no problems with him. I like him better with running things than his daddy. Because I can name a whole list of people that he used to sign.
When you go back to the historic blunders, I give you that. But my problem is you had the ability this offseason to go get another wide receiver.
Ooh.
You didn't have to. Well, okay. Me personally, if I would go throw since we're a draft-based type team, getting a second wide receiver, and I can't come off the top of my head. Shoot.
Now, are you
I think
are
we
you
could have been more
talking
aggressive
to
in the
draft a guy or
draft.
trying to trade a
I
guy?
think we could have been more aggressive in the draft.
There we go.
Yeah,
you go.
yeah. Okay, but
See, but you also got to look at it this way.
Because you could have
When
went and
you
got Scott
feel-
Moore rather than trying to wait for
Yeah.
October.
Right. When
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
fails,
George Pickens.
that's
There we
the
go.
I think
thing.
Pickens
If you go
was
with
gone,
Pickens,
though.
You don't have Sam Williams.
yeah, that's right. If you go get Pickens, you'll get Sam Williams. But I think Scott Moore's the guy.
But we ain't using Sam Williams anyway. And we might have had a shot against Sam Williams in the third, possibly.
Maybe, but the thing with that is when people say that, oh, you can get him late. You only need one team to love you.
Yeah, okay.
That's true.
But,
and we love Jalen Tolbert in the third, and we ain't using him. So it's like
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's never a perfect science, and you can't always get everybody. It's just one of those things. I mean, the way my philosophy would be completely different than how they would. You know, I would have traded Tyron Smith after 2016, along with.
Thanks, Brandon. Hey, Brandon. Thanks. And we could have went and got DJ Chark. We could have got DJ Chark. I like Laviska Shenault. I really did like him. I thought he could have been a guy you could have picked up. I just think you could have gotten a better wide receiver option, and not have put so much burden.
They had a better wide receiver option. It was Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, it was. There we go. But at the time, when we're talking about Sam Williams wasn't as much of a need as receiver was.
Hold on. I'm gonna counter that. Randy Gregory at the time.
They was playing no sign though.
No. But he never played a full season. DeMarcus Lawrence has been injured every year for a while. I had thought they should have got an edge rusher last year and an edge rusher the year before. Darce Armstrong had a good year, but you consider him. So I'm not disagreeing with you with Pickens because I'm more like trade veterans that have value early, have picks, and then you can be able to manipulate in the draft. The way I would have did it, I would have got Pickens and Sam Williams because I like to get a lot of draft picks and move and be aggressive as far as the players if I decide to move up.
Mm-hmm. And especially for a team that, and I think I follow what you're saying, John. For a team that is draft centric of building of drafting and developing, you're gonna have to kind of do that with some veteran guys on that tip.
But they fear the unknown, and I also think that they like jersey sales.
Yeah.
They love that.
We had 3 fifth-round picks. One of them being Waletzko, which was it 3 fifth round or was it 2?
It was 3. It was 3 because it was Bland, Waletzko. Who's the other fifth rounder? Was it Ridgeway?
Ridgeway.
Yeah,
Ridgeway.
So we only using 2 out of those 5. I mean, 1 out of those 5. I mean, 1 out of those 3. 1 out of those 3.
Yeah, 1 out of 3. Yeah. So I mean, but the thing about it is that
John, where I'm like with those compensatory picks, we could be a lot more aggressive in coming up and getting the guys that we want, and we just stayed pat.
Here's another thing I would have did last year. Anthony Brown and Jay Lewis played the best football I thought last year. I'd have traded both of them. Here's another person I would have traded. I would have did 2 years ago. Michael Gallup. I'd have traded Gallup 2 years ago.
That would have been prudent.
You can't keep everybody. You got to keep.
But the thing about it, but 2 years ago was Wilson. Well,
it doesn't matter. Here's what I'm trying to say. I study Bill Walsh, and so what Walsh would do a lot, he would get a year or 2 ahead of the replacement.
Very Belichickian.
Right. So
it's
like right now, if we all was sitting here and trying to figure out things for the future, as much as I like Tyler Biadasz, I'm not saying I'm going to keep him or get rid of him. I'm drafting me a center.
Drafting another one.
I'm drafting another one. I would have did tackle.
Hey, look, my first pick wasn't going to be Tyler Smith. I wanted old boy in Baltimore.
Well, I also wanted Carlo. I wanted Strange, the guy who was the star.
Strange,
yeah, that was another. It's just I just think sometimes they don't get ahead and they're more reactionary. Like it's the year when they got rid of that.
Hey, y'all talking about edge? I wanted Carl Aftis. A lot of people didn't want him.
No, I
love George.
George. George is a monster.
I wanted
George
Carl
is a
Aftis.
monster. Yeah, George is a monster.
You always got to get ahead of yourself.
Got it.
Yeah, it was Linderbaum. Yeah, I wanted Linderbaum.
Yep.
That.
Yeah.
I was iffy on Linderbaum only because of the lack of size, and we didn't have power around him. We got Zach.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of what that Baltimore's done. And you got to have. And so, yeah, y'all gonna try to drive off into this ravine and draft. And Brandon is ready. I'm just telling y'all. And we're 2 hours in. And I'm telling you, Brandon will steer you right in the draft mode. He's ready. So I'm telling you, John, I'm gonna tell you something.
Just gotta.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When we go into this draft thing, John and DMV, I'm telling you, it's gonna be amazing because I definitely believe we can just break this thing off in so many different directions. Absolutely. So we 2 hours and 5 minutes in, man. Give me another one, man. Let's spin it around the block. What you got else, B?
I was actually gonna say I think that this is a great closing point because I think that we have covered all of the points, going into this playoff soiree. So, I think that this is a great point for John, DMV, you guys to plug yourselves. DMV, would you like to go first?
Yeah, man. Y'all can find me at DMV Fanatic, as that's where my YouTube is. Also on Twitter, always tweet some things. DMV Fanatic 1. On Instagram, I am the real DMV Fanatic. And those are the places that you can find me, guys. Appreciate you. Thank y'all for having me. And it was great working with you today, John.
Oh, brother, I'm gonna follow you right after this. I mean, you just look for my name. This is at John Herman Jr. on Twitter. I don't have a Twitter. I mean, I don't have a YouTube, but I have an Instagram. But if you follow me there, and also a contributor at Fansite, I mean, just follow me there. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
Hold on, I do have one question before we kill it off.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we lose, what do you think happens?
John, we can go ahead and do a show on Friday if you want to, or something like that. I got to go to Penn State, so I can't do it. But I'm gonna be honest with you, we can kick that back around, man.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Mike McCarthy, you're fired.
There we go.
I don't want him fired. I don't want him fired. But I think he's fired.
Yeah, I believe he is too. I believe he is as well.
I don't believe he's fired. I think you need to change the OC. I think you have to go.
I think that's the answer. I think that's the logical thing. But I think Mike is done. I think it'll get rid of Mike. I don't. As much as he's done to rebuild this thing from the culture it was beforehand, for this guy to lose his quarterback and go 6-10 his first year, and we've been back to the playoffs 2 years in a row. I truly believe you fire your OC, and you turn around, and he has to be able to call his plays and go from there. I don't think I fire him. But guess what? Sean Payton's eligible for being able to interview on January 17th. If we lose, that would be happening on January 17th.
But he's not free. He's not free, is he? He's under contract. You got to give up draft picks for him.
Yeah, you have to give up draft picks, and that's the thing. They have to figure out whether or not. Now Tuck got a video of him week 2 saying he was looking for a head coach. So the sabotage might already be in. That's why I personally believe he's fired.
Yeah. There we go.
That's a good one. I'm going to go with this. I think it's going to be 2 things. If we lose and Jerry doesn't say anything, then he's going to whack him. Because he always do that. If he's quiet, does that type of thing. But if he doesn't, and if there's an alarm for it, I think he rides with him. I don't think he should fire him.
Right.
I think the cultural part is there, but I think Mike needs to step to the front and decide I'm going to call plays. You've attacked fate with a coordinator that's over his head.
That's it.
And that stubbornness can come back and get you. But here's another thing. Last point. They didn't bring him to win games. They brought him to have success in January.
That's what they brought him for.
Jason
he got to have it.
Games.
Yeah.
Them doing it didn't matter. So we'll see what happens.
There we go.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. This was really fun.
Absolutely.
Sorry, that was long-winded because I don't really get the chocolate.
Nah, man,
I had a blast.
Totally cool.
I enjoyed it, man. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Close us out, Chris.
Listen, man, if you've been with us for 2 hours and 8 minutes, dude, we provided some value. Man, what me and B do, man, We do this because we love it. We don't like it, we love it. So make sure you follow DMV Fanatic. Make sure you get on Twitter and follow John. I found it because he put out great articles, and I read and I had to reach out to him. But if you kick it with me and Brandon, man, we are Frankly Football, man. Two dudes who watch a little bit of tape, talk a little football, try to keep each other from trying to be in the draft season back in September. That's what we do, man. So if you've been here, go ahead and give us some of that free currency, man. Hit the like button, man. You've been here this long, subscribe, man. Follow us and share it, man. Send it out to your homeboys. Say, yo, that kid Brandon got some smart points, man. DMV is tight. Send it out and put us in the algorithm, man. But more important than anything else, man, just continue to follow us, man. I am the Robin, man, and that is my Batman and Brandon, man. And we together make up Frankly Football. And until next time, peace.
Thank you, gentlemen.